and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have Sandy should be here. I have not heard that she's not coming, so must have been running late after work. And David is on his way back from Duluth, so he will be joining us momentarily. There she is. All right. We're also going to go ahead here and read our mission statement. In the partnership with the communities, the mission of the Dilworth-Glyndon-Felton School District is to educate individuals in an environment of trust and respect so they become self-directed, responsible, lifelong learners. All right, so changes to the agenda. The only change that I see here is that the extracurricular coaches were moved out of the consent agenda to 9.4. And we will be voting on the football and volleyball coaches as they have their teams have been reinstated due to the Minnesota High School League ruling last week. So we've already voted on our cross-country coaches because they started the season before school. So is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion by Ronnie, is there a second? Second. Second by Laura. All those in favor say aye. 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 Motion carries 5-0. Public comments, we do have some visitors tonight. No one would like to speak. We did have a couple of comments on our school website. One of them is anonymous. The school board does not recognize anonymous letters, so I won't be reading that one. And then the second one was from Carla Olson. She had questions regarding indoor spectator ban for volleyball and also mask required for athletes. Joe is going to give us an update on the Minnesota High School League ruling, so those will be addressed at that time. Any rebel recognition? Anybody here would like to share? Anybody? Again, thank you to our staff for their diligence during this difficult time between distance learning and going back and forth and helping our kiddos out. So we greatly appreciate that at this time. All right, we're going to start with 6.1, Activities Director Report. Go ahead, Joel.
All right. Standing here, is that fine? Or?
Yep, go ahead.
So, busy last week. We were able to, football and volleyball were reinstated. And along with that, we met with the Heart Lakes athletic directors. We were able to create opportunities for our middle school as well. They will start Wednesday. Some logistics issues that working with transportation, I think we have it figured out. Obviously, we can't run routes to get students in certain areas, but we are able to provide some shuttles now, so that will help. They just have to get to the two areas and we can get them to and from. So that was good. A couple stipulations. So when they came out with the guidelines, they were pretty vague. We looked for clarification. They just came out with new ones for volleyball. Before it was you have to wear a mask at all times while you are playing, which is a change from how we were operating through a 3-week window of the practices. They've changed that now. So you only have to wear a mask when you are sitting. While you're on the court, you do not have to wear a mask while you're exerting. So that is more commonplace than what we were used to. They've also left local control as far as the use of locker rooms. A lot of the schools, we're playing a Heart Lakes conference schedule for volleyball. So every school that we go to is in our conference. They're not going to allow locker room use for us when we go there. So we're aware of that. We will wear sweatpants, sweatshirts, whatever we need to do. But they did leave that to a local control. So that is an option if we wanted to. Ideally, we're not really set up for right now with the construction, so kind of I guess that works out where they'll just come ready to play. They did have it earlier where they took away our seating too for our reserve players. They reinstated that too, which makes sense. So now we could pull out the bleachers and we could have one team on one side, one team on the other one. They are still firm with not allowing any fans in the building. So we'll see if that gains any traction and changes, but as of now, every school that we go to will not allow any fans in home or away. They will not be serving concessions. It'll be pretty stripped down when you go into the gym. So that's kind of where they stand. But they get to play. So when you sit through that, and every school I've talked to, including PGF, will be live streaming the volleyball. So once we go to a different venue, they will send us the link. We will put it out so people are able to tune in and watch. So I haven't heard if they'll do the JV. I'm hoping that we will do the JV and the varsity in the gym. So that's kind of where we're at in the volleyball. Talking with transportation, we are only allowed to have 24 people on a bus, which we need to get very creative on that. One way is to limit to a traveling squad. The reality is we're not going to be able to get our B team, our JV, and our varsity on one bus. That's not realistic. When we set up the schedules, we have it where for the first, we're going to play every team twice, the first time through it. When we go to, let's say, Barnesville, for example, then they are going to send us to the middle school. That way, transportation is an issue all across the board. We have a lot of schools that you hear are, games have to be at 7 o'clock until their route buses come in. I mean, it's the nature of the beast right now. So you have to get very creative on a limited window with the schedules to try to get everyone 4, 5, 6 games, whatever it might be on the football side. And then volleyball, I think we added a couple with DL. But even then, we're only sending them 7th grade, they'll send us 8th grade. That way we're only using one bus. So we had to get pretty creative. But we were able to build a schedule. And we have it lined up. So as we progress, we are still right in line for middle school basketball to kick up at its normal time if we're able to do so. So that was a good part on the volleyball. So the big takeaways, they don't have to wear masks when they're playing. They are allowed to sit, keeping their distance, and then the no fans mandate. And we won't do concessions. We won't have no policy with the So that's volleyball. Football is a little bit different beast. I met with a different group of ADs because we are in a different district. The only AD that's common to both the Hardwoods and our district is Perham. Decided we get 250 fans per game. Okay, so how do we divide that up? Well, if we're visiting, we get 75 tickets. That's it. If we are hosting, we get 175. So talking with Jake again, we have a plan in place where we will be able to live stream. JV in 9th grade, not to downplay JV in 9th grade, but I don't believe we have to worry about the 250 capacity. We rarely would probably make it to 150, so we're okay on that. It's just the varsity piece. What will happen is I'll send the AD that we are going to, I will send them 2 lists. I'll send them an essential list, and that is all our players, our managers, our coaches, our trainer. Okay? They don't count against the 250 cap. I will also send them a visiting list, and that is with ours up to 75 names, and I'll go over a couple of different scenarios on how we can get that. They will do the same for us, and we'll do that every Wednesday before we play them. So then I will receive their essential list. We will still have to take tickets. In fact, we will more than likely have law enforcement at our gate to help with that. If you are not on the list, your name on the list lets you buy a ticket. You still have to pay for your ticket to get in. That's all that does. Some schools looked at, all right, let's compile the names, add it all up, the school will write a check. Some are just going to keep it simple and go, we're just going to charge $5 no matter who it is. So we limit the, there's some things that we can do, but we will have a list at the gate and it will be checked off and you will be allowed to enter. If we don't, the biggest thing would be to get the word out that do not show up at a football game at home, expect to get in. You won't get in. The tickets will be all spoken for. So we get 175 at home, 75 on the road. So how do we break that up? Give me 75 and I just dish them out. The easiest way to figure that out would just be, it's for the kids. They're allowed to play. It's not my game, it's their game. If we broke it down, and this is the current roster numbers, if we broke it down seniors, juniors, and sophomores, and we give every senior 2 tickets, every junior 2 tickets, and every sophomore 1 ticket, that puts us right about 70. Okay, the reality is, I would say, all right, do we have any sophomores? Are we gonna have to limit that travel squad anyway? Do we have any sophomores that will be starting that are, kind of a bigger part of it? And then those 5 tickets would go to those to kind of fill that out. That way, we're at least allowing the parents to go watching football. In the home event, do we follow the same suit? So if we figure this out, seniors, juniors, and sophomores using those same numbers, if we give every senior 4 tickets, every junior 4 tickets, every sophomore 3, and we allow our coaches to have 2, that puts us at 168. And then there would be 7 at-large tickets or whatnot. How do we do this? Is this even the format we want to do? Well, what we would do is every student, and they would know this, would get a survey sent to them. So only them. Will you be utilizing your 2 tickets? Okay. Is there anyone else that you wish would be able to make it? That's it. They don't get to see anyone else's responses. We might have a lot of people that, you know what, I'm not going to make the trip to Pequot. I'm not going to use all 75. So, all right. So, for example, this student, nope, I'm not sending anyone, but you know what? Lindsay's got family in Pequot. Hey, I need a couple, and if it worked out, hey, we could fill that way. But the public wouldn't know that. You would just be able to go down the list and say, all right. And if we didn't have 75, I'll let Pequot know, hey, we're only sending 50. Take the other 25, give them to whoever you want. So that's how we figured we could get it, and it would have to be a week by week. Let us know, are you going to use these 2 tickets? And then you have to write the names in there so that we can check them off. If we made it all about the kids, where we went seniors get 5, juniors get 4, sophomores get 3, that puts us at 175 exactly. We're not going to be able to win no matter what we decide to do this. This is kind of a, you can't, because someone's going to be left out. I get it. There's strong feelings, like my daughter included, loves to go to the football game. We all have kids that want to. Do we, any strong feelings one way or the other? The simple way would be make it about the kids. They can invite whoever they want. Is it we want to keep a certain amount? I'm in a weird spot where, you try to play judge and jury, you try to be, as fair as you can. Never had to do this before. You're limiting we've had 2,000 people here before watching a football game with, rivalry. We're cutting that by, down to 10% of that. So it's a unique situation. So
the kids could give to their classmates.
Correct.
I do have some thoughts. Because I have a senior this year, and I know some of you had seniors last year that kind of got ripped off the last part of the years. But I'm saying the seniors this year are really getting ripped off. I would love to see the tickets go to the families of your, for sure, seniors, juniors, and then I think our senior class should have priority of getting those tickets to watch their classmates. You've got juniors and sophomores that'll have next year, and these guys won't.
I understand where Sandy's coming from. I do think it's a Friday night thing for the kids. Honestly, a lot of grandparents if they can watch it on their television, they're going to be thrilled to be staying warm and watching a live stream game. I know many of us in this room have froze our tutors off at games. So,
we had any conversations with student council?
Yeah, is that a way to go? Student council, National Honor Society.
I have a meeting tomorrow morning.
Maybe you should ask
them
how they
get some feedback, because we may go through the same thing in the winter. This isn't going to be just a fall thing.
And then you look at the senior class too, when we take care of the seniors, juniors, well, who gets it from the senior class? And that could be and not all seniors would want to go, and I totally understand that you get dudered up, have a cheering section. I'm all for it too. I wish the number was higher so we could at least pay 100 of the student body guaranteed, but this is and this isn't the end all whatever. This is what I'm trying to kind of come up with and say what's fair. Because like I said, it is about the kids.
Because you could reduce the amount that the team actually per player gets, and say, okay, if you went with 3 instead of 5, and then open up so that now student body start the seniors, and so all of a sudden if you got 100 family and now you have 75 over here for the senior class, and you gotta sign up by Wednesday noon if you're gonna use it. And then go down to juniors if you got any extra, or family members, whatever. But it'd be interesting to hear what the kids, student council and what else.
Yeah, I'd be interested because we can shave it down instead of 4, 4, and 3, we could go 3, 2, and 2. So all the parents are covered for sure, and then that would free up, an extra 45, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we want to take all the seniors that are players and what else not, also you probably
Yeah,
have.
so then you can, so there's just different options, so I will wait until, I kind of hear what the dialogue was there, and then I can, on them. As far as the away though, I think it's pretty solid just to take care of, we only get 75, we're gonna take care of the parents, and if they happen to say, I'm not gonna go, but I'm gonna give it to Susie, yeah, I mean, as long as we have that, but the home ones, no, I get it, and, the more atmosphere we have, the better it is, so.
And per past experience, some of these football teams don't travel very well. There might be Creek River Falls coming down here to play, and they may be
And I talked to,
fans.
yeah,
And hopefully they would let us know ahead of time. We don't have a lot of people that want to take these tickets, and then that would open up to our players.
and that's why we have a deadline set on anyone coming here, they have to have us by Wednesday at noon.
Okay.
So then we can say, hey, Pete's only using 25 tickets. Great, I've got 50 more that I can give out to the kids, or whatever we need to do, so.
We may see whether, and Joe and I talked about it, with the COVID numbers in different school districts, you may see some that aren't gonna travel. I mean, if they see that all of a sudden you got an area that's been in a hot spot, so to speak, and maybe their particular school is only at 15% and somebody else is at 45, those people may not travel, especially if it's 100 miles.
There's
Take that chance.
There's a lot of truth to that, so even talking with the ADs last week, every school, us included, reserves the right to say, no, you're not coming to our school, or they're not letting us go to their school. That's very real. There's cases in Minnesota now where they played 2 out of their 14 games. There's cases in North Dakota right now where they've had 6 games so far and they played 1. Same's gonna happen with volleyball, and that was the whole reluctant to say, we're gonna move this to fall. This is our one shot, and we could be shut down next week. And you don't get a spring season. So all the hoopla we wanna watch and we wanna do, doesn't matter. This was our one shot. You got them to say yep, and now we're done. And that's the whole, yes, I want them to play, but I wanna hedge my bet a little bit. It's like, what's the right, maybe we fill the season and it goes great, but that's the back of your mind. It could all end sooner rather than later, so hopefully that's not the case, which is why the coaches have heard it, and the kids are getting it, where, we can't control what Thief River does and what Pequot and East Grand, but we can control what we do with how we're proceeding with our practices and our practice of sterilization and things like that, so. That's what I got. It's always changing, so I'll let you know tomorrow when we get a new update, and it's totally different, so.
What are we looking at for live streaming? Do you have a different camera set up, or are we gonna purchase something so that we can make this available to the community?
Yeah, so we're checking with Magnitude Sports, who came and did some streaming. Not that we need them, but I talked with Jake today and Eric, and he did some line of sight thing where we can actually have a booster from here plugged in, so it's good, and then it'll go right to the press box, and then we go wireless, or we can utilize a hotspot. I checked with a couple other schools that just do EL and Pequot. They just do hotspots and they're fine. And as far as the camera, he would use one of the newer Chromebooks, and you'd be able to see the whole field. I don't think you're going to get a lot of that zooming in and following the ball. I think it's going to be stationary, and here you go. And then we will also look to tap into that camera from our announcer, or if there is radio in there, we can actually tap into their feed. The problem is it's going to be biased against us then if we use a feed radio or whoever, but at least you're getting the play-by-play with the names and numbers and yardage and things like that. So.
How about for volleyball? Will they have broadcasters allowed in to?
Yes.
So play-by-play?
The way that the league has talked about it is they're not essential, but they deem them as essential, so they can come up, be by themselves, and they can broadcast the game. You know, anything that, especially since we can't have fans, we want to live stream it. And if there's a radio station that wants to come in, I would let them come in, because that's going to be the only means for some parents to probably catch wind of what's going on, so.
And the same live streaming, same kind of thing?
Yeah, it'll be easier in the gym because we'll have a hardwire to it, where Jake's a little bit, you know, if we get inclement weather, it's like, all right, how does that affect the hotspot and things like that? But, you know, we're going to do the best that we can, so hopefully we can. All right.
Yeah, it just stinks, but.
Yeah. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm sure it's been a tough week, so.
Okay, any other questions for Joe, board members? No? All right, board committee reports. We had an oversight committee. Ronnie was able to listen, and I was myself. It was a great meeting, I thought. So they kind of went over the scope of the project, where the certain, like the bathrooms over by the gymnasium are going to be hopefully the end of next week. All the dividers and new toilets, and that will be, the keys will be turned over for that. And then the middle school bathrooms, what did they say about the middle school bathrooms? I kind of cut out. Is it upstairs? That you get there, which ones are under construction right now?
It was a middle school classroom that was downstairs.
Downstairs. That should be done next week?
Hopefully next week, yeah.
Okay. What else was almost done, Ronnie?
I don't know, I was in and out too, but inside the tractor notes.
Okay. So the biggest things they brought back were those lists that we had talked about since we were under budget. Starting to put some costs to those different things that we had asked them to review. So Jurassic Park 2, which is over here by the science labs, they were able to do a conceptual drawing of that. So Lee and Wayne are going to set up a meeting with the science department, the 3 science teachers, to go over the schematic plans as they are. But I don't want to give a direct number, but it was under $450,000, and that was everything. That was the cabinets, to the sinks, to everything that needed to be in the room. That was all included in the price.
New
So-
HVAC too in that price.
Yep, new HVAC. Since that courtyard right now brings in light, they would look at doing some skylights, so we have some natural light coming into that space. Jake met with the theater department about audio and lighting, and the theater department and the people that use the theater said they would like to look at the audio system. That would be around $50,000. Lighting was like 115 or 150. It was really expensive. And they felt like they could get more bang for their buck doing the audio. The buildings, building here, in a building in Dilworth for the Suburbans and school vehicles, cold storage, they're gonna work on getting a number. And then the HVAC systems, and they talked about finishing. So they went over a lot of stuff, but they're gonna bring us a price next meeting, so the 12th when we meet. Lee is gonna come and present to us all. What the final costs are, so we kind of know where that is. The good news today is they talked about the bleachers in the Glyndon site, and we are going to decrease our capacity to go for the bigger bleachers, and we're still going to be at almost 1750 for spectators, and that's with 30-inch seats, right? 30,
Yep.
was it
Yep.
17, what was it, 1740?
1740. Plus an option to add a few
Which our
other
current gym right now holds 1,200.
I believe so.
Right, that's what they said. So we still are around that 1,800 mark. In pre-referendum, that was our goal. So if we would do the small bleachers, we could get like 2,300, but I don't really think that we would ever see 2,300 people in the gymnasium. So we are going to do the 30-inch seating. They are going to visit with Daktronics, and we are going to get the player stats on one side of the gym in the new gymnasium. And we're not going to do the center one that comes down the middle. We're just doing one on each end. One end has your player number, fouls, all that kind of stuff. So anything else, Ronnie? I mean, there was a lot. They went over a lot of stuff today.
Lots of options on the tile as far as flooring, as far as if you want to update that. And again, it's going to come down to how much is there, and some of those projects can be done later. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We've done that before.
And these were in hallways and areas that we hadn't discussed before. So they're just, you know, like, do we want to bring this cohesiveness down this hallway or not? So they also talked for a brief time about the reconfiguration of this area. And Wayne and Brian kind of both agreed that the way that they have it now in the plans, there would be 2 classrooms up here with that room staying a classroom, and then having a few, like I think it was 3 or 4 breakout pods that could fit 4 students in it was still the better way to go than putting 3 classrooms this way plus another one over there with the learning wall on the north side here. They felt like the current drawings, they like them, and to not have JLG do any more investigating on them. So, and look at the other priority list. So we'll see what the total dollar amount is next Tuesday. We have a oversight committee, and then we'll be able to see the hard costs and really make a decision where to go from there. And then the HVAC stuff. So, any questions on that? It's a lot. I'm sorry.
They did have one option on 28-inch bleachers instead of 30, but you guys seem to think that Holly's was at 30.
Yeah, we want the deep ones. Yeah.
And I don't know what we lost, but like Joe said, there is an option to add more onto the end ones if we wanted to. Is it the sides add more or the ends we add more to? The ends, wasn't it?
He said we could either way, where we could go a little bit longer and we could add and get it up to that 1,800 if we wanted. So I think we'll be in good shape either way.
Yeah.
I think the high school science department is gonna be thrilled.
Oh, I think it's going to be huge.
The plan that they came up with on that, I just am happily jealous having taught science before. It is, and just the fact that all 3 of the teaching staff can access all of it. So it's a heck of a, you know, it's gonna be something that will be more of a spotlight area, I think, also at the high school. So, pretty cool. I'm waiting for their reaction on that.
I talked to Mike today about it. This is his 40th year teaching. He's not ready to retire.
No, I want to see this. He's going to have to start cleaning out his room. Make a room for the construction here with all his jars of fun stuff. No, I'm thrilled for the science department. I'm thrilled for our students. This is such, when you go back to our goal of safety and security, that's taking care of that. There will be no entry point from the ceiling or the roof. And just the educational opportunities that we provide the science department to give to kids, I'm just blown away. So I'm thrilled that it's under $450,000. There might be a few things to do, but I mean, to infill that courtyard for that price, I think we have to do it. And I think if we don't do it now, it probably won't get done. So I was thrilled. You weren't able to see it, but I think you'd have liked it.
Well, I saw the brief of it. I didn't catch all the display on it, but I saw
good.
where they were putting the skylights in because they can't put windows in because of the wall.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to tie into the old wall so they're about the same height and not have any worse snow problem than we currently have. But
yeah.
And then they briefly gave a presentation too on parking lot at the Dilworth site.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of good things, a lot of things happening, and if anybody gets a chance to drive back out here tonight, or just kind of drive to the end and look, they have the curb and gutter all the way, and they had all the rebar last week when I dropped the one off for practice. I was so excited. I've never been so giddy in my life to see concrete curb and gutter. I was like, oh, so pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anybody have any other committee meetings? Anybody want to give a kind of a brief synopsis on last Monday night, our superintendent search meeting?
We had a meeting last Monday night. It was from like 6 to 8:15, I think about, and Barb from MSBA just walked us through the brochure that we're going to put out for potential superintendent applications, and then also we went through some of our top things that we would like to see in superintendent. However, we're also working on a brochure that will go up to the district residents so that they can also put their input in on how to do a survey, whether it be hard copy or online.
So yeah, we're just waiting to hear from Barb. But Brian said we have a budget for our mailers, so I talked to Tracy and she said we'll just use the Rebel News bulk mailer and we'll distribute it to the entire district. So we're just waiting to get that from Barb. I talked to Brooke today, she hadn't received it yet, so if she doesn't hear from her by midweek, I'll email her again. Because on our timeline here, she wants that stakeholder survey open October 9th through the 30th, so that'll be here before we know it. So want to get going on that, so anyway, that'll be good. Laura and Amy, do you guys have one coming up? Is that tomorrow night?
That's tomorrow night.
Okay. Okay. Any other committee reports? No? All right, go ahead, Brian. 6.3, superintendent report.
So I'll cover a few things and I'm going to ask the admin cabinet to just throw in a little bit more at the site levels also. A few different things coming up. We know that there is community testing event in Moorhead starting tomorrow. I think that's been on the news since probably last Friday. They got the details worked out. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I believe it's noon to 6 each of the days. It'll be at the Armory. People are again encouraged to pre-register for it, so you get a particular time to be able to lock in for it. They're going to have 2 lanes, so they're going to do 600 a day, and 1,800 is their goal for the 3 days. We had good news on Friday. We know that people who go in for this testing do not have to sit out from school, from work, from their job. That decision was made Friday, thankfully, which we were waiting on because that was going to influence greatly if we were going to have to make a change to this week, if we were going to have the kids out, so to speak, potentially. So now knowing that there is no issue about having to wait for the test results, because again, this is a community event. If people are asymptomatic, they don't have to sit out and wait for the test results. So that's the key, and the fact that MDH came up with that and sent it out to all the superintendents, I think we were all very happy with that. There are a few things. They put out a letter last Friday, had a few inquiries from people about our positivity rate, how many cases have we had, and how many positive rates, and by buildings, and what else not. I had a few discussions with some media contacts about that. Basically, what from my standpoint, because we have no guidance from the state, because the state's not releasing this, there's no way they're going to be releasing that data by building and such, because you're getting down to such low numbers that it becomes too easy to identify potentially who the cases are. And the only parallel that we have to go from is if you think of the MCA data, the testing data, the assessment data, and you go to the state's website, there's a thing called a cell size limitation that you must have a minimum of. If you're getting into demographic information, you've got to have a minimum of 25. There's different accountability levels, 25 and 40. So for instance, if somebody goes to the Minnesota report card and looks at a school district, and they want to go and take a look at maybe the 3rd grade test scores, how many are proficient, meets proficiency, and they can get that data. But if they go into the 3rd grade, let's say at Dilworth Elementary, and they want to look at a particular group, free and reduced, and then they maybe even go into a little bit more on the demographic. Once that cell size is less than 25, you're going to get an NA. And so when I've had the media contacts asking me how many positive cases that we have, I tell them I can't give you the information because their cell size is too low. And we already know that we've had some different things going on social media where, I hate to say it, but people are doing the guessing game. I heard so-and-so and so-and-so, and we can't contribute to that. That is not right in the first place by any stretch of ethics. So we're not putting that information out. But what I wanted to make sure that people understood last week in the letter is I can say this much because these are general terms. We have tracked over 120 students so far this year that have had to either be quarantined. In most cases, it's because contact tracing all of a sudden says this student may have had exposure. So then they have a quarantine. What I can tell you is, and we're trying to track it every Friday, looking at the data. I mean, we have it by grade, by site, what their period is, starting date for quarantine, ending date, you name it. I can say for a fact, up to as of the end of the week, last week, we have had 0 contact tracing positive tests originating from these school buildings. Every single positive case has been initiated outside the buildings, and we've had some of those students actually be on site because they were waiting for test results, didn't know they were positive. And then we've done the contact tracing. Clay County has been wonderful. Minnesota Department of Health, our regional people have done all the contact tracing, and we've gone back, taken a look, and they just reported back to us. This is not something that we're not directly involved in. This is directly from the county and the state. And not one case contact traced back to an event at the school. So the PPE, the safety protocols are working. Out of the 120 some cases, already 90 of them are closed. So when you hear about the 40 per 10,000 and some of these things, you know, it's more than, it's the reason I put in the letter. That's only one key data point. You know, we have to look at how many active cases do we actually have in our school buildings right now. Last week we had a total of 49 as of last Friday that were active. And this week it's half of them. So even though the cases are higher at the county level, our actual active cases are decreasing. We hope it stays that way. But I wanted to make sure that I share that publicly, and with, as a board, if you get hit up with questions about, we're hearing this positivity, everything's going up so much higher. It may be, but it's not in our age groups as far as the kids. And let's face it, most of our cases happen Labor Day weekend at the high school level. And I hate to say it, but they're happening at home at birthday parties and everything else. That's where they're happening. They're not happening here. So we will continue to track everything. And then the plan right now is to bring the high school and the middle school back to direct, or to hybrid starting next month. So we have them on distance through this week. They go back to hybrid next week, and we continue having the elementary kids stay direct all the way through. Because if we go hybrid or distance, as I've said before, we're going to have a bunch of them here anyway because we got to have them in daycare. We got to provide them. So, you know, we feel that it's much better to have them. If you're going to have them here 4 days a week, let's have them in the classrooms with those protocols in place, those distancing, and where they're actually directly getting instruction from the teachers. So that's the plan right now, and we'll keep monitoring and keep you posted on it. A few other things. COVID funding updates. We know that, and Eric's doing a fantastic job watching all of the COVID, particularly, you know, there's pots of money that come in for COVID for the expenses. And I think he's doing a very good job as far as, I mean, when I let that go, or I'm not worrying about it, it tells you something when it comes to the finance part. So, you know, he knows more about than I do. And so we've got $400 and some thousand, and I know Eric's talked about before, you got particular pots of money that have to be spent in this fiscal year and some that can go into the next year. So a lot of it is trying to, I don't want to say you're playing with it, but you're actually watching those pots of money to make sure you're not losing it, and you make sure you use the stuff up that has to be used up earliest, and account for that. The other piece is, everybody may have recalled that Family Medical Leave Act, there was particular funding through the federal government, COVID FMLA funding, that provided up to 10 days for every employee to be able to use through COVID funding. So what we're doing is we're tracking, we're having all of our personnel that have to be home because of quarantine. It will not count against their sick leave for those 10 days. So if they're home and they're putting in for sick leave, that will be funded through the COVID funding, through the federal government. And then they're tracking it, and Eric's actually gone back and for second quarter of 2000. And how much have we recovered?
Looks like about 15,000.
15,000. So, we've had a few of us who have been out for the 10 days, and so you take your daily rate, and that's what you're gonna get refunded by the federal government. So that's a good thing as far as helping. So that's a complete new, different pot of money that will help with it. So that's being utilized. Food service, we're doing rental on you will see Dilworth site next to the maintenance door soon. I don't know when that's scheduled to be here. Eric may know more on that, but over the next 2 weeks, I'm assuming. They don't have enough storage in the freezer area because of all of the packing all the meals. So we're getting a portable fiberglass enclosed cooler that plugs in, and I'm not sure what the size is, but they can wheel everything in, and now they've got more storage area. And that will all be reimbursed by COVID funds. The other financial thing I just wanted you to be aware of, it was in the MREA report today. So just keep a lookout for Senate File 10. It was in there, so if you happen to get a chance to look at your MREA report, I think that is going to be an important one. Senate File 10 has a hold harmless clause. So if school districts are losing enrollment based on people wanting to do homeschooling because of COVID, they're going to do a hold harmless clause if this goes through, so that you would maintain your enrollment based on pre-COVID. That'd be huge for some of those school districts that are going to lose enrollment. So again, they got to come up with how much money is it going to cost, if they're going to use any COVID money from the federal government to help with the cost of that. So the details have to all be worked out, but that one is being introduced in this session. So just be aware, there are some other things that will be helpful for those that, because if, we talked about before, you lose 100 students, that's a ton of money. Okay, so it's real quick, $1 million. So that you don't have that in the budget to just, come up with $1 million of cuts. So those are the biggest areas that I have from a district standpoint on this. I think the sites have been doing a wonderful job. So anybody have things you want to add? Special ed, middle school, high school. Staffing has been, of course, probably the biggest stressor for every principal. Trying to make sure that we have the right certified people, and because again, we talked about, it's going to be, if we don't have the staffing, that's what's going to force us to go to distance.
So at the high school, and I'll just back up, before school started, we put together a 7-period day, the same amount of minutes as we had in the past. And I was kind of on the fence at that, meaning basically because of screen time and how much screen time kids are going to be in front of the computer all day, which I don't think is healthy for anyone, including myself. I don't really like it myself, and then your teachers are up front doing that study for 7 hours as well, with a 2-minute break is what we have between classes. So Site 2 and I were kind of doing some research on that last week. I got tons of feedback back from students first couple weeks of school that it's just too long. And so starting today, we put out a new schedule, and it's rather than 50 to 55-minute periods and 2-minute breaks, we have 40-minute periods for distance learning when we're in that mode, and then 10-minute breaks between classes, which I heard nothing but praise from kids and staff today about it. Much better, much more relaxed, a little more time. And beyond that too, there was another piece that I had teachers, I stressed to them when school started and then a couple weeks ago is don't just lecture for the 40 minutes or the 50 minutes, whatever it is. Try to get a chunk of time in there, maybe 15, 20 minutes where they're off screen and doing something else. Just so that they're not just sitting there the whole time. When we go back to hybrid, it'll still be that 7 period, and there's 7 periods either way, but it'll be back to the full day till 3:10. But again, wanting them back off, not lecture for 50 minutes. So, it's a comfort level because teachers are used to being in front of the class, in front of the kids, and they're still trying to figure things out too, but they're coming along. So, I think it was a good move.
I had someone in my house that was very happy about it. I had to get him the blue glasses though, because he was getting headaches so bad last week. So got the whatever blue light glasses. So. And I feel like just kind of coming in and out of the room listening, when I'm doing stuff, it sounds like everybody's starting to get their groove a little bit, and it's going better than the first week of it. So, like I said, nothing but praise for people being flexible and trying, because it's not an ideal situation. But I mean, I'm so thrilled that, crossing my fingers that these kids can be back in the building next week, and I'm sure your staff wants that as well, as the kids do too. So
Makes a difference when they're here.
Have we been having good rates of people logging in? Have we been having issues with that?
There is, I mean, they're doing fine with logging in and the technology part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for the most part it's going pretty well. It's, we're getting through some of the spottiness with some of the, I know like Felton has some issues in some of their places that we have for kids, and so we're working with that with hotspots for them that we're getting them. So.
Good. Well, thanks for working through those. Katie?
We went the other way, so we started off with 25-minute class periods with 5 minutes in between during distance learning, and found out that first week that we needed just a little bit more time, not only for the content teaching, but then in between classes, so we'd have some time for the teachers to answer questions. If we were having kids that were trying to finish it at work and they were late for the next class. So we went this past week to 30 minutes with 10 minutes in between, and started a little earlier and got a little bit later. And again, lots of positive feedback from staff. We had a staff meeting. I asked them, do you want to switch it up again? Do you want to stay? And they really felt like we hit that spot that was really good for us. So, and it makes sense. We're a little bit less than they are, and that's for the attention span. And our intent was to also not to have them sit in front of the screen all day, because we've done it all summer, and it's hard, and you get very fatigued, and they're little people, and it was a long time for them. We will go back during hybrid, and some might ask during hybrid that how can we can ask the kids to be there the whole period. Well, the difference is that the teachers have full time. They feel like they give the content to the students can go work independently and get off once they get that permission from the teacher. They don't have to stay logged in for the whole 47 minutes. So that's the difference. And along that lines too, the teachers stay, the kids can stay on, and they can get some, ask questions or email them too if they have that. So we feel like we figured that out, and we're happy with that. The other thing is that officially today, Carrie Westgard started as our 612 district, our distance learning liaison. And Wayne and I met with her this morning at 9 o'clock, and she hit the ground running. She was very busy today. She let staff know that she was ready to assist them. They were contacting her left and right. So I think it's something that was very well received by staff. We're excited to see how this develops. We're learning how to use her best. Some of the things that she's going to be doing is attending brass grade level PLCs for him, content level PLCs. I meet with Wayne and I once a week, get on our counselor PLCs and do a lot of connection that way and see where she can support students. I know that I sent 4 emails to her from parents that contacted me today. I sent them directly to her because that's kind of the area that she's going to do work. So I'll be really, I think in a couple weeks we can give you an update on how that position is going. The other piece is this morning, Marianne and Margot and I met with Lakes Country Service Co-op representatives, and last March, right when we shut down, we had them come in to give the results for our school climate survey that was the parents and guardians and staff and students. So there's 3 different surveys that were given, and we were going to have the results out then, but then COVID, we were shut down. And this Wednesday at 2 o'clock, our staff will have the opportunity to see an overall general overview of those results. And then we're setting up time for them to work with each individual building about what are the strengths and what are some of the opportunities for improvement, and set some action plans and some strategies to start working towards raising those scores in that area. Obviously, if there are concerns, let's see what we can do to raise those up a little bit and make this and address those concerns. The main things that we've been seeing with distance learning is we did have some technology, and if I had to give a shout out to anybody, I would give it to Joe and his team for working through this last week. It was crazy. They were so busy, but also our technology department. We send things left and right to them, and they are calling home, they're emailing, they're working with individual families to really resolve all those issues. So kudos to them. But the other thing has been a little bit of attendance. For some kids, it's hard to log in and to be present. It's for some of them, it's very intimidating. So working through some of that, and then participation. So it's hard to get kids to sometimes participate in distance learning. So it's getting better every time, but I'm hoping that we can go back to hybrid on Monday. But if we need to, at least we know what we can keep doing to improve.
Yeah, I'm ready for my middle school to be. I'm telling you what, looking at grades every day to make sure time and in and keeping your kids accountable, it's harder.
Yeah.
It is. And I know it's a struggle for a lot of parents. So, and Amy and I've had a few mama breakdowns trying to teach her. Kudos to math teachers. I appreciate them. Yeah.
I was just going to say from our last school board meeting, our special ed distance learning teacher has got going with things, and she's contacting families and getting meetings set up so she can be meeting with students as well. And the special ed teachers are very appreciative to that, trying to do both in person or distance learning, hybrid, whatever it was. It's just hard to meet the needs of everybody. So that's been going, and kind of like what Brian said, I think just staffing shorter subs this year. People don't necessarily want to come into the building, whether it's for paras or for teaching positions. So I think that's one of the most difficult things right now, is just covering our subs right now, because people still have doctors appointments, people are still getting sick with other things or whatnot. So it's hard right now.
Joe, anything from the elementary side?
Playground is finally complete. That last piece was put in. Basketball hoops are up. Fencing is done. Check out the, actually we don't care about construction report. We're doing fine at the elementary. Oh, the kids, yeah, they're still showing up, so. Yeah, things are, we're finding our groove, and the nice part is our staff, and I kind of told them any chance you get to do a music class or something outside. We were spoiled the last couple of weeks with the weather. A little bit chilly today, but that doesn't seem to stop them. But the playground piece is done. Maintenance got all the other stuff chipped off and ready to fill in the remaining parts, and then they're redoing our gate. I don't know if anyone's drove, been able to see that they kind of put the gate where the wood chips are instead of where the cement is. That was an error on their part. They're going to fix that. But hoops went up. Must have been this weekend because they were there today. You noticed it. So, and the kids are having a blast. We've got some chalk and stuff. So now we're able to spread them out even more. And lunch, we have it kind of, once middle school comes back, I don't think we'll have to alter that much because we kind of have it staggered so we're not too crowded out there. So we're finally, my mornings are a little bit easier because it's kind of they're easing into it, but they're starting to get the routine. So.
Okay, thank you.
What happens to the benches in the garden springs that were in the front? Where are they being replaced?
Benches.
Yep, the benches that were.
Were they
in front of
black
the
or
school.
green benches? They were kind of
They were-
in front of Donna's room.
They were given by a whole school reunion. I'm just wondering where those benches went.
A couple
Or a
benches.
bill.
Yeah, at the Dilworth site right in front
Yeah.
there. I know it's one you're talking
I
about.
think so.
No.
I'm,
The ones that were right out in front of the school before, the black benches. The all school reunion donated money for those
There's a couple
benches.
benches there and like garbage there and stuff.
There's benches.
Cindy used to have big, beautiful flowers coming out of them.
so there's a couple pushed up against the building. There's probably 3 of them up front in that little cove where all the kindergarten rooms are.
Are they outside of your room, Donna? They are.
Yeah, so I think we've got, those are the benches I know, we've got a couple in the building.
They were out farther before though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were out, they followed that cement that we had, that curve,
Yeah.
they took that out.
Pull everything out while they're getting working on.
Oh,
If those are the ones.
yeah, I'm just, okay, I mean. Okay. Just
Yeah, they're
wanted to
still,
know.
no, they're used, I know we've got some people that are sitting out there, so I'll double check though, make sure they're the same ones that,
They're the same.
Are
So
they
just
bolted
under
down?
that.
I think they just relocated them up against the building now.
All right, any further discussion, Superintendent Admin? Go ahead, Ronnie.
Question on staffing, did we ever fill any of those monthly substitute positions that we were gonna try to do, month-long ones?
We do have some people, let's see, we have one for sure.
We have one in Chile per month. Will be done at the end of September on Wednesday.
So it is a very nice option to be able to have, because again, you know, we don't necessarily need them for any one particular person, so they would never hit the long-term sub rate. But it was a great incentive for somebody to lock in, you know, somebody who had been with us last year and the last few years, retired now, but willing to come back for a month to help, which we were able to place her in each day. And I think you guys have been finding something for her, you know. All of our people that had licensing issues are now licensed. I think we had, 9 at one point? And so now all of our teachers are licensed. We don't have to have any subs in for them. So that's been helpful. But again, right now, as long as our cases go down with staffing and COVID, if that continues to decrease, then we won't have to utilize that as much. It's a good problem.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 7.4, this is approval of the regular meeting on September 14th. Is there a motion? So moved. Motion by Amy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sandy, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, claims and accounts, Sandy?
Lots of construction in there, so we've got a $1,142,469.86.
Can you repeat that, sorry?
$1,142,469.86.
All right, we also have in there the treasurer's report, the Minnesota Liquid Asset Max account, activity account report, and the donation from Bell Bank for $500 for classroom supplies. So thank you, Bell Bank. Ronnie, you did have a question on those Comstock bills, and Brian reached out to Eric, and those are not pre-construction costs. Those are just costs associated with the building that are coming in so far. So those were correct. But it's not the pre-construction stuff that we
It's the
talked
current
about.
work they've been doing and stuff, so.
Yeah,
It's all associated with bid package 1 and 2 and their part. So that will be something that will get scheduled with Jason after they put all of that together.
okay. Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion? So moved by Laura, second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0. All right, 9.1, this is a preliminary tax levy. I'm assuming Brian has something to hand out, or was it in our package?
No, actually, Eric's gonna talk about it a little bit.
Okay, why don't we get a motion, and then we'll get a second, and I'll let you discuss here. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I got Amy, Ronnie, do you want to second it?
Yeah.
All right, the floor is all yours, Eric.
Okay, I have nothing to hand out because MDE has run into some issues with the levy process. Right now, achievement and integration in particular, we have an issue with. Plus with us shutting down our Glendon elementary site, we had to recertify FTE data or ADM data. So the data is very rough at this point. But I do have the comparative spreadsheet out on the shared drive with the current data out there for you to review along with the most recent levy sheet. But at this point in the process, we're looking at an overall increase around the 2.5%.
Increase or decrease?
Increase.
Okay.
Again, it's rough data at this time, but really at this part of the process, we have to just do our initial certification, which as about 99% of all schools do, they just do the max. We do the max because as the data becomes more clean with MPE, you can decrease your levy, but you can't increase it if you set a dollar in it. So this allows the county auditor to start getting forward with assessments and move forward with things. But overall, it's a 2.5% increase at this point until this stuff gets cleaned up. Unless we see the FTE or the ADM data, change it. It's really not going to change much more from the 2.5. Overall, the referendum R&D value is increasing the levies associated with that, and that's mainly because of our bond that we put out there, and the net tax capacity has decreased some. I could bore you like Brian has in the past on the difference between the two, but
We'll get the markers out one more time before I leave. Do it in December.
we can save that for when you actually have handouts.
That's good.
But if anybody have any questions, I can try to answer them at this point. Right now, I'd say we just move forward with the max levy as we've been practicing in the past.
I don't know if there's hardly been a time when we haven't done the max in this one. You know, the December one, the final is when you cut it down or adjust it or whatever. So.
Great, thank you, Eric. Right, we have a motion by Amy and a second by Ronnie. Any more discussion?
That's the shortest in 10 years on the levy.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.2, this is records disposal. This is for the special education records, 18 years from the date of birth plus 7 years effective June 30th of 2020. So must have been something we kind of had an oversight on that during COVID. Or no, yeah, because it'll be 2021.
Usually we do it during the summer.
Okay.
And then it's on her now. Usually this comes on during the summer.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the clarification. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Sandy. Is there a second? Second by Laura. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.3, this is revised lane changes. There was just an error on one teacher on the last list. I don't know who it was, but we just need to
didn't have
redo
all
it.
the data from the person, so we couldn't put it on there. And then that was all turned in next week, so we just said, okay, let's run it through.
Okay. Is there a motion? Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sandy. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.4, this is the extracurricular coaches. We are doing the football coaches and volleyball coaches. Per COVID and the fiscal personnel, we went over this, we're only voting on coaches per the season. Due to COVID, if season is canceled, then we don't have a contract with those individuals. The reason why this is coming up today is because Minnesota High School League reinstated last week. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to bring it up.
Motion by Ronnie. Is there a second? Second by Laura. Discussion. I feel like there needs to be a change to one of the head coaching positions. I feel like there's a lack of collaboration. This lack of collaboration with his other assistants has been detrimental to our student athletes. And I would like to make just my statement, how I feel about that. So do we want to go ahead and vote on this, or do we want to make another motion to separate the coaches out?
I think the motion's here, we need to vote on it, but I've got some reservations too. I've heard some different comments and stuff, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But,
Okay.
Do you want to ask for an amendment to remove one of them from it and secure the other ones? And then vote on that one as a separate?
Yeah, we could do it that way. Sure. All right, so ask for an amendment to this to vote on all coaching staff except Anthony Soderberg's contract. That would be voted on separate. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second by Laura. All right, let's go ahead and, so we have a motion by myself, second by Laura for the amendment.
I think you'd want to have the person who made the motion and the second just amend theirs.
Okay,
Because otherwise you're going to run into an issue with not having a vote on.
okay.
So just, okay. I move that we remove the head football coach from the first presented, and we vote on the balance of them on this motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No, do you second that motion?
Do you second that, Laura?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So we will add 9.5 would be for Anthony Soderberg as head football coach. And this would be, you got that down as 9.5, Amy?
9.5, motion to approve Anthony Soderberg as head football coach.
Correct. Is there a motion? Motion by Laura. Is there a second? To vote on it, I guess I'll make a motion.
Did you second it or not?
Yes, that's the second, to vote on the contract
You
here.
seconded it? Or you-
Yeah.
Okay.
I can second it. All those in favor of Anthony Soderberg as head football coach, say aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion does not carry 5-0. Okay, 10.0, board comments, future agenda. EMDGF is going to be meeting with Brian and David if David gets here after this meeting. On Monday, October 12th, we have the fiscal personnel committee meeting scheduled at 5 o'clock. So Brian will let us know if we're going to be doing that. And then the next school board meeting will follow Monday, October 12th at 6 p.m. Any further discussions?
With,
We have negotiations tomorrow night. What time did we set? 6?
right?
Okay.
It's here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's here. Yeah.
what time did you set up that oversight meeting? For sure?
1:30.
Yeah, I haven't sent it out yet.
1:30
October
next
6th, right?
Tuesday, yep, so you probably won't be able to be on because of these.
Yeah, depending on which schedule I'm on, if I'm doing lifting or combine, so
Okay,
probably not.
all right, so I think Amy and I should be able to be there, so that's it.
So I think we got to have a discussion about how you're going to, so right now you don't have a contract and you don't have a head coach
Correct,
for football.
correct.
Okay, so how are you going to go into the season? What direction are you going to provide us as a board, how to handle this? Because Joe's going to need to know, we're going to need to know exactly how to deal with practices and what else not. And you also have a situation anytime you're having a head coach where you have to be able to, if you're not going to renew, right now you just don't have a contract. But you're gonna have to I think we gotta have a conversation, you may have to go into closed session to talk about this as far as how you're gonna move forward with this, because you have a football season, and unless you're gonna cancel it, you don't have a head coach. And by statute, you also have an issue, if you are gonna non-renew, you have a process that you have to do by statute. So, we have a problem.
Do you need the statute for extracurricular when it's just only year by year?
Head coaches in statute
Okay,
have to have an opportunity the same way that you do with any other person that's not being tenured. And they can ask for a hearing, with you, with board and all that. So the question is, are you treating it right now that you're looking to non-renew, or right now we just are at a standstill as far as, because if he's not gonna be your head coach, we're not where we need to be yet. You may have to have a special meeting. Thoughts?
Thoughts, I'm, confident that we have an assistant coach that could step in at this time. And if we have to have a hearing with Anthony Sorberg, that is fine, if that's what we have to do via statute. I don't think that this should affect, anything at this present time, because they can still practice with how many assistant coaches do we have?
I think the easiest maybe is if.
5 coaches.
I would recommend maybe that the board officers and myself meet sometime in the next day or two, so that we can decide whether we've got to have a special meeting and some next steps. I think we should have a conversation with MSBA and what else not, but right now we've got there's some steps we got to walk through.
All right.
is there a way to just have one of the assistants be an interim head coach, or that's not an option?
Well, part of the problem is we haven't taken the steps to do it non-official. So just not approving it right now is fine.
Okay.
But
Yeah, and that's all we've done.
Yeah,
So
and so I think we just need to make sure that we get, the officers, we can sit down, talk about it.
all right. So we will take care of that after the meeting. We'll briefly talk to officers and you. So again, that was a non-renewal, and we'll go for those appropriate steps. So anything else we need to go over? All right.